The Team Never Quit podcast is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. With Navy Federal's new Cash Rewards Plus card, you can be earning unlimited 2% cash back on every purchase. I'm talking groceries, fuel, the pharmacy, whatever it may be, you can be earning money on it. So why not give it a try? Go check out all the information and more at NavyFederal.org. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Team Never Quit podcast. As always, thank you guys for listening and watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your show. So today, before we get to our special guest, let's kick it off with our weekly Patreon question. And this week we've got a good one. So if you were given $1 million to start up any charity, what would it go towards?
We've started charities before, so I'm going to go with something new. I think what Marcus does every Friday is probably one of the most rewarding thing, and he passes out food with our church, that like people from our community that are in need, just don't have the finances for groceries and stuff. Our church gives out these big food boxes, and there's like 300 families that come through that line, and they're all vetted. The church actually vets the families to make sure that they need it. It's not people taking advantage of the system. So these are people that are really in need. I mean, there's people out there that cannot afford food, and that is just crazy. So I think mine would go towards feeding people that, especially kids. There's the statistics on how many kids go without lunch at school is crazy. So mine would be feeding the needy.
What about you, brother?
Yeah, no, there's so many good charities. $1 million isn't a lot today, unfortunately. But with that million, I think I would definitely contribute to the hunting and fishing for veterans that are suffering with TBI or PTSD. You know, just to get them out there. We talked a little bit about life after our service and going and doing things, and not only that, but they can eat what they catch and what they hunt. And I know there's a lot of programs up in Washington State and you know, big hunting states that donate that meat to shelters. So just thinking about how that million could go the furthest, I think that's what I would put it towards.
There's actually some really good organizations that are for hunting and fishing. If you want some for veterans specifically, I'll give you the names afterwards, because we've been in touch with some great ones.
Excellent.
That will take veterans out. But I love that. I grew up as a hunter. As a little girl, my dad treated me like a boy. So I was hunting from the time I was itty bitty. And I love that. I think it's really important that people harvest their own food.
Absolutely.
I would have to say I'd take all that money, I'd go straight to a university. I'd find the best university with the coolest campus in the country somewhere with rolling hills, where they could have, where every team guy that got out, because I think what happens when team guys get out of the military, they have a break and it messes with them. Yeah. But when they get out, I think they should just go follow on and like they're in the teams. So this is like an education. So as soon as the guy who gets out of SEAL teams doesn't have a college degree, his ass has to go straight to that school. And then there's a frat house waiting on him with a bunch of other team guys. They integrate back into society. Like they reverse what they had to go through. Yeah. And it's a step process. And then that place would be renowned for, if you make it into the teams, your ass has a degree from that university, and just kind of become a staple there hidden deep inside the university.
Right. Didn't you learn that Ole Miss
has something like that?
Ole Miss has something like
that. So if somebody gives me a mill, I'll probably going to Ole Miss. But I thought it was the coolest concept because they do it for the Rangers.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you've never been there to that University Ole Miss and seen the Grove and what they do to, it's in Oxford, Mississippi. So you're talking about the country Harvard, right? Or country Yale, whatever. Harvard, I guess, because of the colors. Yeah. But it's something. I mean, it truly is something there. And a couple of the guys sit up at the ROTC and the Veterans Administration there have started this program. So if you're in the military, if you're in one of the special programs and you're ready to get out, don't just get out.
Mhm.
Find your way down by a phone call, text message, or email or something, and tell them you want to just. There's nothing better than being a college student, y'all.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe being a SEAL tops that just a little bit, but being a college student, like your butt's in school, your job is to wake up late and go to school and then drink a lot of beer and watch football and stuff like that, right? There's no pressure there. And I just think to some of our guys to unload some of the pressure from the combat and just SEAL teams in general.
Sure.
Not even combat.
Sure.
Being in the SEAL teams is more stressful than combat.
Yeah.
We're wound so tight, right? And I think that would be a good one to
You know, it's interesting that you say that because people don't believe me when I tell them this. This is the first time that any live bullets were coming my way or whatnot. It's like, it was uneventful compared to our training. We're just like,
shot
I'm
at
asking,
more
we're looking at our buddy. Are they shooting at us?
Yeah.
SEALs will mess each other up. Like we shoot at each other and blow stuff. Like when no one's looking, it's I mean, you think waterboarding something, man. We use alcohol on each other to do that. You would talk about a group of guys that will take, and that's why we have to have chiefs.
Yeah.
You got to have somebody watching the boys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we're choir professionals. Yeah, we are, but you can't, I mean, that term's relative.
Watch out when we get bored.
Oh man, it's the worst. Like the chief, that's why they wear the expensive watches. It's like, hey man, it's been more than 20 minutes. I hadn't seen the boys. Something's up. And that's a factual statement. That's not truth.
True.
That's fact.
Yeah, it's fact.
Marcus
You have to have them doing something.
Peace
You
out.
know, when I right out of 18 Delta, I went to Gray Green Team. And
That's right.
yeah. And I didn't screen for the boats. I screened for the assault team, but
There was something, I don't
Jay
want to say
Sawyer-
weird because I was never from there.
Yeah. Jay Sawyer's like, you screen for the command and we send you where we need you.
Need you, right? And then
So-
gray green, everyone kind of
Yeah.
tried to avoid that.
Well, yeah, it's the boats. They kill
Boats,
you.
right?
Yeah, they destroy you.
They
One
destroy
guy,
you.
he
It's not
when
because it's
he
not
left the
fun.
command, he was a full inch shorter.
Yeah, it's because it destroys you.
It does. It destroys you.
How about that?
I know, right? So we're going through training, and I'm just out of 18 Delta. I finally am confident now that if someone hurts themselves, I got them. I wanted people to hurt themselves. That's how good the course was. 18 Delta is no joke. I mean, it was like, bring it,
Yeah.
I got it. Well, one of the boats decides it's going to try its hand at traversing land. And I look back and it's on its side. It's turned over like, oh man. And these are hard boats, right? So not the inflatable sponsons. They're hard boats. So I'm like, there's going to be all
A
kinds of
scarab
crashes.
racing boat. I mean,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking about a full-on friggin'
40-foot
boat.
open ocean racer, and it's like there's going to be some carnage. There's going to be some carnage, and we get over there, and luckily it was in Cherry Point area, so the ground was soft. So any pressure the boat put on somebody, they just sunk into the ground. So it didn't really mess that people. So there was some cuts, there was some broken bones, there was stuff like that, but mass casualties.
That's a great story.
Yeah. And I just start barking orders, boom, 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 and blue t-shirt, black shorts. We go we get them to the hospital, the closest one there on Cherry Point, and I walk in, and I think I'm like 25 years old, and I'm like, hey, let's get this guy up to X-ray. Let's get this guy over there. Let's start doing the primaries on this. Let's start barking orders. And the nurse said, whoa, who the hell are you? And before I could say anything, this doctor comes out from back. Are you an 18 Delta? I said, yes, sir, I am. Nurse, give this man anything he wants.
Oh my gosh.
And I
that's
looked at him, who
awesome.
do you want to take care of? Do you want to sew this guy up first, or do you want to take care of this one over here?
Wow.
And we got to work.
That's awesome.
That's the best training ever.
It was. It absolutely was.
That was the most difficult in the beginning, trying to learn that language and
Yeah.
slip your mind into that. I
The
remember,
Army doesn't love us.
No. Yes, hey, they throw a beat down too. Freaking SF boys, instructors. God. Man, I had this one dude, he had a red pen. He's like, it looks like somebody shot your damn test, Latrell, because there's red blood all over it. And I'm like, God, I mean, they didn't care. They're ruthless.
They were.
They show up at midnight.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why aren't you studying? Like, yeah, I was just going to try and get some sleep, man. No, we don't sleep here.
Yeah.
But it was,
It was good.
that was the best, man. The absolute best. And I felt that way too, because it's combat training, learning medicine.
Yeah.
So there's so much stress. And I was more nervous going through 18 Delta than through SEAL training. I was that scared because SEAL instructors are kind of, I had a mouth. I had an attitude too, man. I had a big one. I'm not, I can say that now. Okay. I know I freaking did. And I apologize to all my chiefs that had to keep me in line. Thank you. But man, when you come out of there, it's so the stress that they put on you is nothing. I mean, when we run into that other stuff, it's just kind of like you said, anticlimactic,
Right.
And you just start barking out that stuff they teach us. They're like,
Yeah.
how do you know how to do that? I'm like, this is what they tell us to do this, and then when it goes down, we do it.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
It is.
That's exactly how all those phrases that we say out loud. I mean, these little, I don't want to call them poems, man, but these little riddles we got in our head that we say when something goes down and reminds us of what's transpiring helps.
Yeah,
it just freaking
you work
does,
through the
man.
process, right?
There's a process.
They teach you that process, and then when I went to jump master school, to me, it was easy because 18 Delta just drove that process, right? You start here, and you don't miss anything, and you just go right down. So same thing when you're doing a jump master, it's just boop, 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 boop. It's like, how come you're so good at this? It's like, well, I went to 18 Delta, man. They drove that.
You can follow procedure.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely
a discipline
right.
thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're fast forward. We need to go back in time. Take us back to where you're from, and
Yeah, sorry.
yeah,
You're right. But before that, the reason you guys asked me on is
Yes.
I published a book. It's
Yes.
called Tip of the Spear. It's
Yes.
not what you think. You can find it on Amazon. And matter of fact, if you want some signed copies, ballastbooks.com
oh,
has some
Ballast.
signed copies as long as they're there. There's just a few of them if you want
Yeah.
to order them. But I grew up in Washington State. I was a migrant worker, working in the fields. So the type of hunting we did was hunting for cherries and apples and asparagus and whatnot, cucumbers. And then in the winter, the family would go to Texas. My older brothers would work in the cotton with my dad. I was too young to work in the cotton, but we would spend the winter here in Texas, and then we'd go back to Washington State once the spring hit to start working in the fields again.
How does that work? Because I've actually seen our church promote something where you can sponsor migrant workers to be at your house or whatever. Were y'all sponsored by somebody, or were you sponsored by a farm?
No, more the farm. So the reason we were doing that is my dad was actually charged with finding crews.
Sure.
And since he had 7 kids, he's like, well, I got my own little crew too here as well. And I got to be here, so might as well bring them with me.
Mhm.
So we did that. My parents split up when I was 11, 12 years old.
Mhm.
And then my dad came back to Texas, and we stayed in Washington State. And that's where my mother's side of the family pretty much was, because they were migrant workers as well growing up. And then, my mother, she had an 8th grade education. So it's like, well,
Where was she from?
She's from Mexico. She was from just outside of Monterey, but came across when she was 8 years old.
Mm.
And which is a whole other story,
Yeah.
because everyone's like, well, they came across because this is that. Well, I'll tell you real quick.
Mhm.
In 2000, we found out that my mother was one of 17 heirs to 160,000 acres of land and gold and whatnot. Yeah,
Of course.
My
Yeah.
great grandfather was very wealthy and came from Spain, settled that area. My great grandmother died giving birth to her 4th child. 2 weeks later, my great grandfather dies. So the uncle says, I'll raise them. Doesn't educate and doesn't tell them about their wealth, nothing. And as my grandfather, as I understand the story, and I'm sure that relatives are going to be yelling at me, you got it wrong. The gist is that my grandfather, his cousins were starting to threaten him for the 30 acres that he had to raise his family, basically ran him off. And I think they ran him off because they didn't want them to find out that they were the true heirs to all that wealth. And so he brings his family across illegal, and then we're migrant workers. And then my mother marries my dad, and we're migrant workers. And
Oh my
whatnot, yeah.
gosh. Did she get it? Did she get the land?
no, she ended up passing away in 2009. And I even told him to, I said, look, that land has been sold and resold and whatnot so many times, and just the taxes you're going to owe on it. And, so we don't, it did nothing for us. It did
Cool
nothing for her
story.
either.
That's a cool
Yeah,
story, though.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, that's crazy.
So she worked as a nurse. We did our hand in the fields. She got a job as a nurse's assistant in a nursing home, and we were on public assistance. We were on welfare, and we were working. Us 3 little kids that were still in the house. She did the best she could to get us out of school, and and so that's the whole reason I joined the Navy, was to be a doctor, not to be I didn't even know what a SEAL was. But I wanted to provide a better life for my mom, because I saw how hard she was working, even though she hated my guts. There was no qualms about it. I mean, no one will argue in my family that there was no love lost.
Because like just you or your siblings too?
So there's 6 boys in our family and 1 girl. And my mother always wanted a daughter. Well, when she got that daughter, out comes Rodney as well. So she's my twin sister.
Oh, yeah, twin.
She's my twin sister. And so she's like, what the hell? I can't escape these guys. So I think she got it from both sides of the family. She just wanted to really focus on her daughter, and she's got a screaming kid over here that their perception was she wasn't paying any attention to. So just that animosity, probably over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you close with your sister?
I think so. I mean, she's still in Washington State, but not as close as I'd like to be. But being in the teams out on the East Coast, and I missed a big part of all those momentous occasions. Having children, raising the kids, and whatnot. Just because I thought being in the teams and running hard was what I was supposed to do, and I realize now that family matters more. I'm not taking anything away from people.
Yeah, don't do that to yourself, man. It's kind of like time and place.
That's it.
An easy way to earn your way back in the family: be a freaking team guy.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's kind of, hey, even if you mess up, you go take an ass whooping like that.
Yeah,
respect.
And they didn't know what team guys were. As a matter of fact, my wife, her family didn't even know. I didn't know what a SEAL was.
So tell us how you even got down that path.
Yeah. So the recruiter sold me on a bill of goods to go to the academy.
Freaking good at that.
Yeah. It's like, hey, go to pre-med at the Naval Academy, and then after that you go to the Armed Forces Medical School and become a doctor. And the whole time you're earning money, you can send money home.
So you must have had great grades.
I did.
Okay.
I had good grades, and I was in sports. But yeah, when I got into boot camp in San Diego, and the company commanders asking, how come you're not doing the Montgomery GI Bill? The Montgomery GI Bill back then, you paid $100 for the first 12 months, and then you got a certain amount of money for school later. Well, $100 back then was half of my total pay as an E1, right? So I'm like, no, man, my mom needs the money, and I'm not giving you $100. And besides, I'm going to the Naval Academy. Like, you're not going to the Naval. What's wrong with you? I'm like, you don't know. My recruiter knows. You don't know.
Oh, no.
As I start learning more and more about the Navy, I realize, my company commander was right. I'm not going to the Naval Academy, at least not anytime soon. And start reading about UDT SEAL. We see that the movie Men with Green Faces, but I looked at the pay, and it was the pay that motivated me so that I could send more money home. And
what year is this?
This is 1986. Yeah.
And, dude, you're an 80s frog.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I started with buds in class 143, December of 86.
140.
I graduated 143 in July 10th of 1987.
You know Warrant Officer Faisal?
I do.
God. Do you really?
I do.
Boy, that guy could beat people's ass, boy. He was awesome at it, man. I hadn't thought of him in forever, man, but because that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
In the 40s, man.
I love that you can associate someone's name.
That's what we do.
But's class number.
Especially with the Chiefs, because when stuff there's a hidden language that we speak, and there's these hidden things. And we were talking about this the other day with some. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's going through some stuff, and we were talking about kind of how we used to get a little wild and stuff. And what he said to me was teams and shit.
Yeah.
And if you say that word,
that's it.
To any team guy in any moment, it'll quell everything. It's like this magical word that goes out. And then what we were just talking about, there's these moments where, man, you just, like, why do you know his buzz class? Is like, trust me, there was a moment when I was standing there and that came up and he hit me with it. And just the way they do it. Because, team guys are about their timing. It's all about timing and looking cool, man. And that guy, God, the stuff he would say. There's this one buddy we had, Otis. He was in my class. He's got a brother, too, a damn neck guy. There's 2 of them.
Okay.
And he was inked up. I mean, he was a boatswain's mate. Had the anchors and the everything on his knuckles.
Right.
And we were doing flutter kicks on the pool deck, and Warren off Faisal like, Jesus, Oz, what happened to you, man? Did you fall asleep on the Sunday comics? He's like, most of your tattoos don't even make sense. Dude just started laying into him, right? And I never heard this before. You're a grown man talking like that. And then you start laughing because it was funny. I mean, like this guy could be on stage. And then you start laughing, and then he'd be like, what's so funny?
Team guys are funny.
Dude.
Team guys.
They are.
They just point some stuff out on you that you wouldn't even think about.
Yeah.
And give you a complex like that.
Yeah.
Like I never even noticed I had that.
We were, this was when I was with the agency, and we're getting ready to push into Iraq in 2003. But of course, we're staying in hotels in Kuwait so we can get per diem. And so I'm rooming with him, and he's telling me about his diet he's on and his workout and all this. I mean, like Army dude, right? Army Ranger, just going on and on about all this stuff that he's doing and whatnot. And I'm in my rack, and I just look over and I was like, "Can I ask you a question?" He said, "Sure." I says, "Does your ass know that you're on a diet?" He starts shedding a tear. Just those little things like that, right? He's like, I thought I was.
I mean, it hits them the worst. It hits those guys the worst. Like, my God, you look fat in those pants, dude. I mean, like you're one sandwich away from that, right? And then like one of the chiefs used to cut it like a little bit off their belt, like just a little bit, right, to where it just kind of. It just gets snug enough to where you're like, what the fuck? Just the stuff you wouldn't even think of, man, they'll find. And just, I miss that stuff most of all, man.
Okay, so you're in boot camp.
So I'm in boot camp, and I find a program that's gonna pay me as an E1 what E7 makes. It's 3 years commitment. I'm stuck for 3 years. So I say, I want to do it. And they're like, do you know what it is? I have no clue. When I talk about it in the book, Tip of the Spear, it's not what you think. You can buy it on Amazon, and there's some signed copies at ballastbook.com. The swim test, during boot camp, it's like, okay, you're going to do this screening test. And we start, and there's like 50, 70 mugs all because there's 2 companies together, and we're all going to do this swim test to qualify for SEALs or diver. And it's, hey, you're going to do the side stroke. I'm like, what's the side stroke? Never even heard of the side stroke. What's the side stroke? And the guy's looking at me like, what the hell is your problem? He goes, you know how to do the breaststroke? I do know how to do the breaststroke. It's like, okay, do that. Yeah,
you can do one or the other, right?
One or the other.
That's right. Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Yep. And I'll never forget when they all took off and they're all gone. I'm getting kicked in the face, everything. Now.
Oh, that's right. I remember they put us in a pile and then send you out. That's right.
Send you out. And I'm like, I got to learn this side stroke. These guys are fast, crazy.
It is.
I won't share the rest of the story because it's in the book, but yeah, never swam in the ocean, never shot guns, never had a mask on my face.
Really?
Yeah, none of it.
At least you didn't have any bad habits.
No, I didn't. And here's another thing too, which I laugh at because I was born with my right eye crossed. So
I had one of those. So it's an awesome thing to have as a kid.
It's great.
So, I mean, you want to talk about a humbling experience, bro. I'm with you. God hooked me up with that one too.
My nickname from my brothers were cross-eyed frog. Right? Then I ended up being a frog man. So I'm like, all right. Really?
I had to get thrown down a mountain for mine to straighten up, dude. It was, I mean, you want to talk about miserable because, the eyes eat first, right? So we used to joke because my brother had my eye and I had his. So we were always looking for each other, man. That's what we would say.
Oh my gosh, babe, that's horrible.
When you're born with an anomaly like that, you got to come up with whatever you can.
You got to make fun of yourself because you people are going to try to tear you down. They're going to try you. If you beat them to the punch, they got nothing.
Yeah,
nothing, and you own them.
Right, dude. That's how it has to work. I mean, they'll throw some stuff at you and they're like, hey man, I've already heard that. And then you throw something better at them. Here, use this one next time.
Yeah, this one's better.
Yeah, I had to learn how to do all that.
But I could never. Well, first in the pool. The doc, he wasn't a SEAL, but he was the corpsman supporting.
Yeah.
Dive phase was third phase back then, and every time I'd come up from the pool,
you were in the switch.
He's like, Magellan, you okay? Because my eye would be doing this. So he's thinking I'm narking out or something.
Dude, you're having a stroke, right? He's having an embolism in his eyes. Dude, that's funny as hell. Yeah, they called me Vector. That's where I got that name, Vector, and because in third phase. Like, Jesus, you got the place covered. I'm like, I do. That's it.
But then fast forward, and this when the teams had their own STT, and I was fortunate because Team 4 was like we got all the guys from Dam Neck, right, from the early days, and I could not for the life of me understand why people couldn't keep both eyes open when they were shooting. I couldn't understand it. Could not understand. I'm getting mad at guys. God damn, keep your eye open. What's so hard about keeping both eyes open? Well, they don't work together.
Yeah.
So mine's just hanging out over here, picking the next target while I'm shooting this.
Yeah, I could do that too.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I never had any eye strain.
None.
Ever.
None.
I mean, I don't have any depth perception. Do you?
I don't know what it is.
I don't either. I don't have that either.
And it's one of the stories I tell in the book, Tip of the Spear. It's not what you think. I almost didn't get hired by the Marshal Service because I failed that depth perception test.
Yeah, oh, bro.
Yeah.
I'll fail it
Yeah.
professionally.
This is after the teams, after being in grade team,
Yeah, right?
right? Being a jump master.
You know how important depth perception is in our freaking community?
Yeah, absolutely. But I can't be a deputy U.S. Marshal because I don't have any depth perception.
I learned that he didn't have depth perception when we got married. Our videographer, which I didn't even know that they were doing this, filmed our entire wedding ceremony, reception, everything in 3D.
Oh, wow.
There's they could do it. I don't know how. I don't even know why they did that. They didn't ask. And they tell us after they're like, you need to download this deal to convert it to 3D. And I'm like, I tell Marcus, and he said, well, I can't even see in 3D.
Can't see 3D.
You remember those pictures?
Dude, I
You remember
never
those
saw
pictures?
those,
I
ever.
hated those pictures. Everyone's saying, oh, wow, they're so cool. And I'm just like,
There's some elephants in there, I guess. I don't know. Space shuttles or something. I don't see that. Even with the glasses. We went to Disney World one time with the kids, and they were like, hey, throw these on. It's great. And I'm like, that.
you just see something blurry.
It's just blurry, That's worse, right? Just miserable headaches. Come on.
So we couldn't even. We lost our footage because it was filmed strictly formatted for that, and I told them don't even bother putting it formatting it because
Good times, man.
Yeah,
it's another
that's
funny
how I
thing that
learned.
happens with
It's all good.
every team guy has something.
Yeah.
When you show up to Bud's, you think, man, I'm the weakest one here. There's no way. Trust me, every guy that shows up in there is from the anomaly barrel.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we talk about, that I started writing. And again, when I wrote this, I didn't plan on publishing it. I just started putting down my thoughts.
It makes you feel good. Yeah, it's good for you.
Yeah, it helped me get out of
That's
that
good
dark
for you.
place. But yeah, it's you all these people that I run into that look at us and are like, oh my God, you guys are so cool. And I'm like, but you're a surgeon. That's pretty damn cool too. Or
It's real cool.
You're an airline pilot or just anything. It's like, you own this company. You have thousands of people working for you and you're doing God's work. That's pretty damn cool too. But they don't see it. And we don't see it. At least I don't see myself as cool. I just see it as, this is something I did. And every time we do something else, I'm not going to quit. If I commit to it, I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities. And I think everyone's like that. And I'm shocked when I find out that they're not. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens is every scenario that we get in, we make it fun and exciting and cool. And then so the next one comes up, we got to do it better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll go till guys die. And I'm like, oh, okay, we'll pull it back in the range,
Well,
right?
we'll bring them back because we're 18 Deltas.
We're 18 Deltas, right? There's always something.
Kill yourself.
That's it. And when we were in D.C. the other day, look, I'm going to kill you. We're going to bring you right back. Okay, I believe you. Like, I trust you. And then just hit him right in the chest with it, man, dude. But imagine, like, you would never be able to hang out with these type of guys ever anywhere. If you walked into their city, into their community, they wouldn't have anything to do with you. They're kind of standoffish, or you got to earn their trust. Yeah. Well, the way you get around that is you throw all of them into one spot, and then you send them through hell. And when they come back out, they're going to revert back to their old selves, but there's a bond there now. Yeah. Like we were on stage the other day when you were looking down that line, you had all the city boys, the country boys, the real smart ones, right? The educated ones, and the kids who from the country just sling lead and fist. Yeah. But they freaking love each other. Yeah. And they will make fun of each other because of who they are nonstop. And then they'll laugh about it like it's the funniest thing I've ever heard. But then if somebody else walks up and tries to say the same insult, it ain't gonna fly.
Right. You're like, who are you?
Yeah, who the? And then every one of us turns and looks at that dude and like, hey, man.
Someone better vouch for this person.
Yeah, you better speak up. Yeah, that happens for sure.
Oh my gosh. So when you graduated Buds, was your family there?
No.
You didn't have anybody there for you?
No.
Dude, so you're a mystery frog then.
Aww.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes me sad for you.
Well, don't be sad, because here's the thing: and I just learned to just, that was the norm, right? So any schools where there was any kind of graduation, when I graduated the Marshal service, when I graduated the academy, I didn't even have my wife come out, because it's like, well, graduation, get my diploma, get my creds, get on the plane, get home to them.
Yeah.
Type deal. So no real time for celebration. I mean, it's. I always saw it as this is my job.
Yeah.
Right. This is my job. I'm getting ready to go to work, and yeah. I write a little bit about the graduation because you know how they let us send invitations to whoever we wanted, and tip of the spear. It's not what you think, and people in my, because I went to Corpsman A school. Everything is San Diego. So boot camp San Diego, Corps School San Diego, and then straight to Buds. So my first year in the Navy was San Diego. Well, there's people in my A school, the Corpsman A school, you're not gonna make it. I'm like, well, have you tried it? Have you ever done it? No, yeah. But I'm 18 years old. Okay. I turned 19 in Buds. I don't know. And these older guys are telling me, oh yeah, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. I'm like, well, okay. Why? Yeah, because you don't have what it takes. Well, how do you know what it takes? Yeah, I just know. You just ain't gonna make it. Okay. I take their name and graduation, got your address.
Oh my gosh,
sent them
I love that.
all invitations, every single one of them. And not one of them showed up, but I sent them an invitation.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. They just motivated me.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And like I said, I talk about it in the book. And that's why I say it's not what you think, because it's not a story of all my escapades. It is really just getting people to look at life and look at their life differently. It's hey, you matter and you can do it. Mm-hmm. And you choose if you're going to let them beat you down or motivate you.
Yeah.
And no one can hurt me more than my mom. Right. So when she would say nasty things to me, anyone else saying nasty things to me was nothing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just motivated me to prove them wrong. That's it.
Well, the program starts before you sign the line, and it shows up in the form of people saying you can't do it.
That's it.
So if you're wondering if you're in line to be in the program, you'll start hearing that. Because people will ask you about it. You'll start having conversations about it, even when you're not in. So it starts way before that. Yeah. The best is when you run into them after.
I love it.
If you're uniformed up and taking your bird for a walk and they just happen to bebop and you recognize them, that happened to me one time. And I didn't say anything. He kind of looked at me and he got that look, looked at my chest, and I was like, yes, sir. Carry on smartly. You know what I mean?
That's it.
Yeah.
How about seeing guys in the chow hall after Hell Week?
Oh. Dude, if they could just have a camera in there for us to old timers to watch that, just to remind you, right? How
they are so upset with themselves because they realized it was just a moment of weakness, just that moment of weakness, and they quit. And now they're sitting in the chow hall. It's like, why did I quit? And they're sad and they're all boo-boo lipped and crying in their cocoa.
My gosh.
It's like, well, why'd you quit? Why you?
So after you quit, you can go eat?
Oh
man, dude, they got a warm bed and a shower and hot cocoa and cookies. They got these chocolate chips. You could smell it, man. Yeah. And then every now and again they'd have a grill cooking barbecue when they would just be beating the shit out.
Well,
right in the middle of this, man. They don't care, dude, especially during Hell Week.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Man, anything to take your mind, because what happens when you get into misery is your mind finally clicks in there. It's okay. Yeah. But then just like a song or a smell of some barbecue or something, burger, and you're like, civilization, I'm talking about humanity.
That's it.
And it for 1 second, and then, so it's kind of, dude, isn't that place something? They can do that to us?
And notoriously, corpsmen had a hard time making it through, not because they can't make it through, because our options are, we could go to a hospital.
Yes, I remember them saying that.
Live a normal life.
Warm hospital, nurses, doctors, and everything's clean.
That's it.
Yeah, I remember them saying that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a real thing.
So, oh my gosh.
They would come up with anything to throw your mind off, to say that. And look, they need guys to do this. So you're like, hey, you need somebody, I'm here. Da, da, da. Yeah. And then they're like, F you, dude, we hate every single day.
Yeah. So y'all just ran off of hangry mode.
Fear and everything shows up in there. Because like I would be afraid of something he wouldn't be.
Like when you're so hungry or angry, the hangry man,
They're pretty good about feeding us.
For I don't think they are good about feeding you. They are good about feeding you.
There's always some fuel in the tank for sure.
Yeah, but I don't think that it was any fear as much as it. If there was fear, it was the fear of letting people down, of proving people right.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds crazy, but I didn't want to see that smug face of someone saying, "I told you so.
Mm-hmm.
I knew you couldn't do it."
Yeah.
I was not going to face that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't quit.
Because the look on their face when you accomplish it's a lot better.
It is.
It's a sweeter thing.
And you don't have to say shit.
Yeah, you just
Sorry.
You ain't gonna say
No,
nothing.
You don't have to say nothing.
Yeah.
You just be there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So when you graduated, you went straight to Team 4?
Straight to Team 4. Yeah. Well, I mean, the 2 weeks of running the chamber and then jump school, but Team 4. And I actually lied. And I know, and I tell people not to lie, always be honest, but I stretched the truth a little bit and said I spoke Spanish.
Oh, you son of... Is that how you got there?
That's how I got to Team 4.
Oh, because you can pull that off, man. Like I couldn't. I tried to get over there, man.
Wait.
4 was the place to be.
You're the son of migrant workers.
Yes.
And you don't speak Spanish.
Well, I grew up in Washington State, and you got to understand what my mother and her family went through in those early years in Washington State. They were treated poorly, and because their first language was Spanish. And my uncle tells this story about, he thought the restroom was called "be excused" because there was a "ma'am, can I be excused?" And so he thought that was what you called the bathroom. Can I go to be excused?
Oh my gosh.
And so they didn't want their kids to get harassed and be treated like they were treated as kids growing up in Washington State. So they did not push Spanish. They didn't want us to learn Spanish.
Because it makes you seem, if you don't speak another language, you're from here.
Exactly.
Did she speak Spanish at home at all? Your mom?
Only when she was,
yelling
at my dad and my mom. Yeah, when they didn't want other people to understand
and that's something
swear
that
words
shift,
they were using. Yeah,
the language shift. Italians do it famously.
Yeah,
those straight English. As soon as they get fired up,
exactly,
it just comes straight up.
And my grandmother only spoke Spanish too. So, like I said, I understood it and I knew a few words.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, I speak Spanish. I need to go to SEAL Team 4. And so I got to SEAL Team 4.
Did they even ask after you got there?
Hell no.
I didn't think so.
They wouldn't even send me to school. I'm like, hey, can I go to some of these Spanish schools? And they're like, you already speak Spanish. I'm like, well, not that good.
Technically, but I could brush up on it all the time. I mean,
need some help. I need some help. And
that's awesome.
And it was. I finally they're sending guys from Alabama, Mississippi.
Okay, that's not a lie, technically. Okay, because if you speak one Spanish word, it's not. If you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? Hey, man, I wanted to go there. That's how I got there, man.
This is true.
All right, check.
So they're sending guys. They're sending guys that they're coming out of Spanish way. Dice que hola como estar, right? It was huge southern draws, and their Spanish is horrible, and they can't interpret it all. But they're putting me in front of people to interpret. And I'm like, bueno, you queremos hacer esto. And they're like, okay. And everyone we're working with, Venezuela was one of our premier partners. I mean, they were very, very accomplished, very, very good. And we used to work with them all the time before they became our enemy. But it was... You do get some control when you speak Spanish and your OICs don't know a lick of it.
Oh yeah.
The platoon guy, they're like, hey, screw this. We don't want to do another hydro recon. We don't want to do it. We want to go jumping. We want to go skydiving. I'm like, so do what you can to make sure we go skydiving. I'm like, okay, all right. So we're sitting in the meeting and it's like, okay, yeah. So they're telling me in Spanish, we're ready to do hydro recons. We're ready to do diving and all this other stuff and whatnot. And I'm like, you sure you guys don't want to go skydiving? And they're like, well, what do you guys want to do? And then I translated in English. Yeah, they say they can do this hydro, but they'd rather go skydiving. Really? They want to jump instead? I think, that's what they said. Let me ask them again. Do you guys want to go jump? Well, if that's what you guys want to do. Yeah, they said they want to go jump.
Oh my gosh.
We're out there skydiving.
That is hilarious.
Doing a hydro. Yeah, I'm going to get in trouble for that one. But
oh my gosh.
Y'all could pull that off, man. We're going to I look like a white dude.
Yeah.
If we're in Iraq and Afghanistan, it doesn't matter if I speak the language or not. Yeah. It comes out with a Texas accent and I freaking look white.
It's true.
Some of y'all can pass for anything.
I was a chameleon.
Bro.
I was a chameleon, and
We had a bunch of those in my first platoon. Chameleons, man. They could blend in anywhere. They could be an LA gangster or a jihadist from friggin', I mean, anything.
So I'm going to share a story with you. So my time in Iraq and Afghanistan was with the CIA. It was not with the teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're in Afghanistan, and we're going over to the palace. Well, Karzai, he had, I think it was a cousin or something. We called him Quasimodo because he had a hunchback.
Mm.
And blue team is like doing the protection for him. And I show up with my chief of station and to do a meeting. And so I was a GRS agent. So I'm there to protect agency personnel. I'm there to make sure nothing happens to him. And Quasimodo sees me, right? He does this, disappears. He comes back. He's got a chair for me. He's showing someone else. He got tea. He got all of blue team is around me, and they're looking because he thinks I'm Afghan.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh man, this guy's getting sweet on me.
Oh no.
No. They gave me so much crap over
Oh
that.
my
But,
gosh.
yeah, I blended in nicely.
It makes a difference over there.
It does.
It's only not a thing here.
No.
That's
Your
crazy.
crawls get you a lot of,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
through Team 4, how long were you there?
I was there for 4 years. I would have left earlier, but when the Gulf War happened, Damneck sent out a letter saying, hey, we're not really participating in this war, so you could keep all essential personnel, because I was supposed to go to Green Team, the assault side. Well, Winters was the XO, and he pulls me in. He goes, you're a Spanish-speaking corpsman? You're not going anywhere. I'm like, we're not fighting in this war either. We're Team 4. We're South and Central America and the Caribbean, and we're not fighting in it either. He goes, I don't care. So I jump in another platoon and do another deployment. And then when I come back from that deployment, it's like, okay, do I go to the Green Team or 18 Delta? And so I'm talking to everyone. They're like, hey, you got to go to 18. You got to be an independent duty corpsman to promote. So go to 18 Delta. Damneck's always going to be here. And so I'm like, all right. So I went to 18 Delta.
Yeah.
And then I found out that, and that's where I met my wife, was when I was in San Antonio. I had an aunt. She's still in Corpus Christi, and went to go visit her, and they were friends with my wife's parents, and they remember me from being 13 years old, and they're like, well, we need to find a young girl to show him around, because he's probably not going to want to talk with us. And so I already been to almost every country in South and Central America, deployed 3 times, and now I'm in 18 Delta, and I
in Texas.
In Texas.
In San Antonio.
In San Antonio.
Dude.
Yeah.
They had 18 Delta in San Antonio?
That's where it used to be.
The first phase, yeah.
That's why I signed up.
Yeah. The first
I was
phase.
like, I'm gonna have to be a SEAL. I'll be back in Texas and San Antonio. It's gonna be great. I'll be learning medicine. I can see my friends. No. They launched my ass to Vietnam, dude. Fayetteville, North Carolina is when they moved. I think I might have been the second class to ever go through in the NOM.
Asherman, one of your instructors? Rick Asherman?
Absolute. No, he wasn't. But I used his chest seal.
Oh, okay.
Like his stuff was going through the program.
He lives in Bernie.
In Bernie, Texas?
Yeah.
Rick Ashman does.
Rick Ashman, yeah.
I
saw him last week. Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I've used his equipment to save lives before.
We were sitting at the Denny's studying together at 18 Delta because they made us buy. This was, you gotta remember, AIDS was huge back in the 80s and 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
AIDS is gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Don't get AIDS. So you couldn't do mouth to mouth unless you had this pocket mask, right? Which was just a thin plastic with the little bill that goes down the throat of the person that you're going to do mouth to mouth with to protect you from AIDS. That's what he's looking. He's like, this would be a great chest seal. And it's like, yeah, man, it absolutely will. And he ran with it and invented the Ashman chest seal.
Sure did.
There's
a couple of our boys
being in like junior high, and I don't remember if it was health class or what, but they had us all stand up, and then they would count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sit down. 1, 2, 3. They would tell everybody, they were counting through, and they're like, 1 in every 6 people by the time you're 30 years old, you'll have AIDS. And we were like, what? We were a small Christian school. And we're like, what are you talking about? But at the time, they thought it was going to be this huge thing that everybody was going to get. I remember being terrified about that. I'm like, I don't want to get it. How do you get it? Yeah. And they weren't even telling people back then.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy. So that's how we did it. So that's how I met my wife. Is my aunt and uncle introduced us. And when I met her, I'm 24 at this time, She's 17. I'm like, don't get any ideas. I'm not going to prison. And she's like, well, you're a jerk. I was like, well, I'm a man. How silly, right? We ended up being best of friends. And then next thing you know, it's like, you know what? I think I want to marry her one day.
Aw.
But I'm not going to let her be like my mother, where she doesn't have an education in case something happens to me because of our job, right? No plans on ever leaving her, but things happen to team guys. So
All the time.
yeah, so I wanted her to make sure she had her education first, and which was perfect because while she's going to college, I was over at SEAL Team 6, and I mean, I wouldn't even, when I was home, I wouldn't even leave the command. I'd sleep in my cage. That's just how busy you are, right?
Mhm.
And then when she finished college, it's like, okay, well, it's time for me to go to school because the whole reason I came in the Navy was to get a degree, and plus I don't want her to start her life with me being at SEAL Team 6 because it's just, I'm a ghost, right? You're a ghost.
Yeah, some of the guys do it. I don't know how I never had to do that. I never married while I was in. Some of the guys can pull that off.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's the women, they're powerhouses when it comes to that because you're married to the life.
it's true.
I committed to the life. I said it out loud. Like I'm married. I'll never forget the night I did it.
Yeah.
I was sleeping in the cages, stuff like that. That's a life inside there. There's different kinds of team guys, levels. I would say different kinds, but
There is.
there is, right? Yeah.
There is.
So it's tough, man. My hat's off to the guys who got. I was the same as you. I had to be out.
Yeah. No, it's true. And that's why when our daughter was born is when I went, first I couldn't promote to chief. And so, in the Navy, as an E6, 20 years, you're out. And I don't know if you remember this, but Clinton changed the retirement after 20 years, you got 40% of your base pay. So now 40% of half of my total pay was going to be my retirement as an E6. So got out, but stayed in the reserves and went to the Marshal service. And and then loved it, loved being a U.S. Marshal. But when 9/11 happened, got a cold call, and I asked him one question. And the significance is we're living in Corpus Christi, Texas. I am a deputy U.S. Marshal in Corpus Christi, Texas, where my wife was born and raised, where her dad was born and raised. She's surrounded by family. We have the first grandchild for her parents. And
Corpus, big fan of that city.
Yeah.
I mean, like their number one fan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
It's a great
it's a great town. And I got the call and they said, hey, your name got passed. Would you be interested in coming and hearing what we have to say? I asked them one question. I said, do I get to go to Afghanistan? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, send me the tickets. And I came home and I said, sweetie, I have no idea who I'm talking to, but it's time to go to war. SEAL Team 4 is not activating me. I was still enlisted then. I was still first class. I called the Marines. The Marines aren't activating me. I know we're going to war. I don't know what the problem is. And then I, come to find out about authorities and permissions and acts of Congress and whatnot to get the funding in place so you could start moving people and reservists. But by then I was already in the agency. And it's funny because I'd put in for my commission through Intel and supply because I'm like, I am not.
Really?
Yep. I am not going to retire as an E6. I'm putting on khakis one way or another. So I applied for the direct commission through Intel. And then my second was supply. And I'm getting ready to go up to DC. And by then I knew it was the CIA. And I stopped in San Antonio and said, hey, your commission came through. And you want to stop by and take the oath? I'm like, yeah. Well, come to find out, NSW is offering you a commission as well. I'm like, well, I didn't apply for them. It's like, yeah, but they're offering you one if you want it. I'm like, well, of course, absolutely. I'll stay with my community that I know. So stop.
That's a big deal. Most guys won't. I remember that.
Yeah. Yep.
That was a deal breaker back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to go with the SEAL teams.
I did. So yeah. So I stopped in San Antonio, took the oath of office to become an ensign as a SEAL officer, still in the reserves, and then kept on driving up to DC. Was there for a week onboarding, and then Saturday qualled on all the weapons, and then Sunday on a plane to Afghanistan. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, fast. And they were still in Corpus Christi, waiting for me to come back. Yeah.
Where'd you land when you landed in Afghanistan? Bagram?
Kabul.
Oh, Kabul.
Yeah.
How long were you with the Marshals?
So just, I think 2 years, if that. Yeah.
Oh, that's a fun time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. That's one of those good deals.
The Marshals were,
and you're talking about 2001. That's when everybody got those golden cruise boxes, bro. It's like, hey, man.
oh, with the U.S. Marshals, or are you talking about the agency?
Everybody.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
After 9/11 went down, everybody kind of got funding.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. The Marshals was, I love the Marshals. I can't tell you how many times we roll up on someone, we'd finally catch someone, and they're it just surprised the crap out of me. It's like, what took you so long, Marshal? They're tired of running. They get tired of running.
I've heard that.
It's just like, okay.
That's exhausting, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is exhausting, always looking over your shoulder.
You know how cold and flu season always seem to hit at the absolute worst times? And on top of that, pricey prescriptions just make that way, way worse. Well, that's why I love to use GoodRx. It's free, it's easy, and it helps you save up to 80% on prescriptions at pharmacies that you already know, like Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Kroger, and so many others out there. Just search for your medication on the GoodRx website or app, you grab a coupon, show it to the pharmacist, and bam, you've got your discount. GoodRx works whether you have insurance or not, and most of the time it can probably still beat your copay price, so just go check it out. It's worth it to save some extra cash. I've saved more than $30 on my cold meds just from last week. It's a lifesaver. You can't beat it. Don't overpay for your meds this season. Go visit goodrx.com/TNQ and start saving today. Why would you ever pay full price? Go to goodrx.com/TNQ to find your discounts today.
So who are you hunting for?
Oh, fugitive.
Shoot, you can't. Everybody.
Shoot, I had a bench warrant. I had to pull a girl out of college because she got a speeding ticket on one of the national parks, and so that goes to the federal court.
What?
And she didn't show up for a speeding ticket, and so
that's the kind of shit that would happen to me.
The judge is like,
I'm not kidding. Like,
Yeah.
that is the kind of shit that would happen to me. Like,
yeah,
the trouble I got in my 20s was like speeding ticket, never paid. Like, it was always something so stupid.
Tickets.
I
Yeah.
had a lot of tickets.
a lot of tickets.
Yeah.
Heavy
crazy
foot.
stuff.
Radiator cap.
It's
I
crazy
mean,
stuff.
and she had a Camaro.
Yeah.
The authority that the U.S. Marshals have is vast. I mean, they have all the authorities of a sheriff in any county, and their mission statement is the preservation of the federal judicial system.
Did you feel bad having to pull that girl out of college?
Absolutely. And she was crying, and I'm telling her, "Hey, Liz, this is a formality. You know, the judge is just flexing their muscles. You should have showed up. I know you forgot. Just go up there and say sorry. All this other stuff." And
When you're at that age and a uniformed officer shows up,
Yeah.
pull you out, it's terrifying.
Terrifying.
it is. You're right.
And they're trained to say it's going to be okay. I never felt like that.
I know, right?
I was scared to death.
I know, right?
When they would show up, like, oh,
Like, why do
dude,
you have a
oh
gun? Why
man,
do you have a
oh
gun?
my god.
I had an incident like that. Hunter was like maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I had taken all of my little sister that's 10 years younger than me and her friends to a movie. It's Christmas Eve. Took him to a Christmas movie with Hunter, driving back, speeding in Tomball, right by the hotel y'all stayed at last night. And they pull me over and they're like, "Oh, you have a warrant." And I'm like, "For what? Like, why would I have a warrant? I've never done anything."
Right.
73 speeding tickets,
Yeah.
45 unpaid parking tickets.
You didn't pay,
Like that.
I don't know, like some court deal I didn't go to or whatever. And they freaking handcuffed me in front. Hunter, that was the only time
Wow.
I've ever seen that. And when my little sister was in the hospital, was the only time
Yeah.
I ever saw Hunter cry.
That jewelry fits a little different, don't it?
It was
Yeah. No,
absolutely.
Those bracelets fit a little
watching my
different.
dad getting handcuffed and taken off by cops it's just one of the things you never forget.
for a freaking
when you're
speeding
kids.
ticket. Like, there should be a different agency that handles that because
No.
it's so terrifying. It's
So-
not like I robbed a bank or anything.
So one of the things we were talking about before we started the podcast was I wrote a de-escalation course for law enforcement because it was during the whole defund the police was going on.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things I talk about is it's like, you know, when you have parking officers that go and just give tickets. They're not armed. They give tickets. They don't argue. They just, here it is, and they
Mhm.
walk away.
Yeah.
So why can't you have levels, like
Yes.
you said, and where it's like, okay, look, here it is. I mean, I understand why they do certain things they do because domestics, and you never know when someone's gonna when they hear those words, you got a warrant for your arrest or whatnot, how they're gonna react. But you're right. But it takes money. It takes money. You have to hire these folks. You have to train these folks, but yeah, there should be. I think that's what the constables are supposed to be for, right? I mean, it's a
Just
different level.
The fact that we have human beings and Americans that are willing to step up and do that job.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm very pro
Yeah.
police, but that act is so terrifying to a young lady that has never done anything like criminally.
Yeah, that's the whole point. So you don't do anything criminally.
Well, but speeding is not a criminal.
It is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
If you're habitual.
I mean, yes, it is.
If you're a habitual.
Whatever.
You get that, right? That's why we have the sign that says speed limit.
I do not agree with that.
I definitely
But
still remember that.
What are we talking
it was
about
a
here?
traumatizing time.
Yeah.
It was so and it was Christmas Eve. I had like $1,000 in cash, and I was like, "Just take all my
Oh,
money."
shoot.
And they
Robbing
wouldn't.
police officer.
Yeah, they were not.
That's what happens.
having
It gets so scary. You don't know what to do, so you try and do something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's like if from a seasoned police officer, when they roll up a kid like that and that starts happening, there's a little bit of love and
There is.
kind
There
of
is.
messing with you a little bit and some of that just to prove a point.
These
Like, you
guys
don't-
were jerks. They could care less that it was Christmas Eve. They
Yeah.
could care less that I had the pastor's son in my car.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I was literally teaching Sunday school the next day at our church. It was the craziest thing. And it was Christmas the next day.
Yeah, I went back home without a mom.
Yeah. It
scarred
was
for life.
Wow.
terrifying.
No, and they do see a lot of things that we don't have privy to, right? And they do have to put up. I mean, I remember when I was with the short time I was with the Marshal Service, is one of the unfortunate things we have to do is we have to evict people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kick people out on the street, and you we're not robots, right? Your heart
Mhm.
goes after them. I'm sure being downrange, being
Well, that's
in
the problem,
Afghanistan, being
'cause
in
then
Iraq, and you're
A
seeing
caring heart gets
families.
jaded.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens.
That's it. And they you get those that maybe you need to pull them off the line now because they are just more of a Judge Dredd instead of compassionate peace officer.
Yeah.
But again, you're right. It takes it. My hat goes off to anyone who serves in any kind of capacity. Just understand that we're serving, though. We're serving, and
Mhm.
we're
I was
serving
talking with
everybody. not
some
yourself.
guys the other day about y'all that served 2 terms. I think we should have maybe we start in Texas. So a law enforcement agency, because people were like, hey, the cops, and if you had guys that served 10 years military, then 10 years law enforcement, snatch them up, guys and girls,
Yeah.
and create a place for them. And if you run into one of them,
Yeah.
that's the best we got.
That's
They're so highly trained, and we've looked at every inch of them, that this is the best we got. So don't talk back to them.
Yeah.
If you kill one of them, heaven help you,
right.
Mm-hmm.
because Texas will scorched earth you for doing that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
True.
some of our citizens put in extra work. They do the grind, and we should reward them for that. And I mean, I think especially with our generations, we could develop a program that's so cool to police our own people to where here's the deal, you got to know it exists, because people, if they don't know something exists, they'll try and flex it.
Right. Right.
But then something that is like they want, something that lets them do their deal.
Yeah.
I mean, humans by design, we like to get wild.
Yeah.
And they like to act up. They just do.
And you're absolutely right. We are so well trained. I don't want to say overtrained, because I think that is just an oxymoron,
Yeah.
right? That the argument we always got with our Army brothers, right? You guys train too much. It's like, no,
That's our life.
No, we don't.
That's how you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually got reprimanded when I was with the Marshals because certain people that I was stationed with, they had challenges. I used to be really big into fighting. I got my instructorship from Pat Trey, so Frank Cucci, Pat Trey, in Thai boxing and Kali, and I just love fighting, and weapons instructor, firearms instructor, all this, and I offered to help them get better at shooting and fighting. Well, I get pulled into my supervisor's office. It's like, hey, why are you making people feel feel bad about their skills. I'm like, well, I'm offering my services. I could get them to another level. And they're like, look, we're not training SEALs. We're training Marshals.
Oh yeah, I've heard guys run into that before too.
And I'm like, but they suck. And we could get them better. It's like, no. They are fine where the quals that they're at. And I'm like, but they're struggling with the quals. And I'm just trying to help them. It's like, listen, what don't you understand? We are making Marshals, not SEALs.
We're okay to suck.
Yeah. So you're right. We bring those skills to the table, and of course I'm more diplomatic now when I offer to share any insights or anything I can, so that I don't come across as being a jackass. But we're used to the teams, right? We're used to the teams. It's like, dude, get over here. We're gonna make you better, and you do it. You don't have. That's how I learn. I learned from other guys that were better than me.
I think
and you constantly train. I think that's a big misconception with the SEAL teams. People are like, well, what are they doing when they're not deployed? They're working. They're constantly.
That's the hardest part.
That's it.
We go on deployment to take a break.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
And every team guy says that. And you can tell the deployment guys. They come back looking like combat, but they look in shape.
You're right.
We know immediately who they are.
You're right. That's true. That is
For sure, man.
Yeah. So after 4, 18 Delta, Dam Neck, then short stint at SBU 20. That was my shore duty. That was my good deal. I was the SMDR. I worked in the medical department at Special Boat Unit 20.
Cool. Yeah, man.
But they were standing up the MCADs, and they found out I just came from Gray Team, so they pulled me in. So the MCADs are the maritime air delivery system, or that they're basically throwing boats out of planes. And so really it's like, hey, let's get these guys confident in the water first. And the jumping and the driving the boats and de-rigging the boats, that's easy. Let's get them confident in the water. So focused on that. And then, which they hated me at SBU 20. They hated my guts because I was working for a fleet chief. And I just got a bunch of, Eric Adamski, all these guys that straight out of BUDS got sent to 18 Delta and then got sent to SBU 20. And they had a case of the ass because
rightfully so. I get it.
They're like, hey, I joined the SEAL teams. They forced them to shore duty they weren't even on sea duty. They were on shore
or what?
Duty. No,
not even.
They were SEALs. They were BUDS. They were
that's
BUDS
where they went.
Graduates.
Yeah.
But they were trying to get more SEAL type mentality. It's the Army is really good at this, right? If they want special forces type DNA to get throughout the rest of the forces, they'll send soft guys to other conventional units. So I think that was the same idea. Is let's get these DNA, let's get the SEAL DNA into SWIC. This is before SWIC, but into SBU. So they forced these guys, and they were angry, and they're all working in the medical department. And I'm their LPO, and actually I was the SMDR, but the chief was a
fleet guy.
The fleet guy. Yeah. And I had to pull out the SORM. The SORM is like the Bible. It tells you all the positions at a command. And I pulled out the SORM, and I told him, I said, look, I got it. You're the chief. You outrank me. But it says right here in the SORM that the senior medical department representative needs to be an 18 Delta graduate, an 8491. 8491 is an 18 Delta Special Forces medic, not what you are. So I'm the SMDR.
Oh my gosh.
You're the chief. And he tried to fight. He said, so I'll run these guys. And it was hard for them. And I told him, I said, listen, guys, I know you got a bad deal, but the best thing I could do is help you guys get promoted and have you guys go to college and get your degrees if you don't have it already. And I'll cover the rest.
That's good stuff, man.
And I'll cover the rest. Yeah.
I got lucky when I was working medical too.
Yeah.
My fleet chiefs were so much fun.
Oh yeah.
And our doc was the man. Dirks, Doc Dirks, Colin Dirks. God bless you if you can hear me out there. Doc Diggler, we call it. He was so freaking, he's one of them good looking son of a guns and a doctor.
Oh yeah.
We were in Hawaii because when you're out there on the rock, man, all we had was each other. So we worked together and played together.
Yeah.
And then we were always traveling. But our fleet guys, our chiefs in medical, the best.
Nice.
Because they would actually they would pull us in to learn.
Right.
They'd actually make you, we'd have classes, we'd have to go in and learn medical procedures. And he was real adamant about that. And I pissed him on a couple of times, but because the boys would be doing something, what I thought was cool, come to find out, it was a lot cooler being in the medical side of it.
Dr. Lipton was at the squadron level or the next group up, and because we all shared a compound, and he was the same way, and he was teaching us how to do chiropractics. He was I mean,
Cool.
all this stuff.
Yeah,
and
man.
it was good stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed being 18 Delta, and I was doing it right and writing scripts and taking care of people. But then it was time to get out, and I decided to go into law enforcement instead. And then
So your total service time is what? 30?
35 and a half years. So
That is-
9 of those years from 2000 to 2009 was as a reservist. And then so I leave the agency because my average time home was 10 days
Mm.
and then back out the door.
Yeah,
And it wasn't just Iraq and
that's
Afghanistan.
fast.
It was, Venezuela, it was Colombia, it was the Palestinian territories. So Iraq, Afghanistan, yeah, got it. Gaza, nowhere to run. Nowhere to run. I'm out there. But I could fit in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I could fit in. I remember and it's during the second Intifada. Can I tell this story? Yeah. So it's just about our mindset, right? About our never quit. I know you guys wanted me to talk about never quit stories, and really it's the book was still going on, trying to just get the word out to people that they matter. Tip of the spear. It's not what you think. So we're going in, and the Israelis they have the streets all tore up and whatnot, so it's sand, and we're in a level 4 Suburban, and we got a trail, but it's a sedan, and we turn the corner, we take a right, and there's just a mob of people, and there's women, and it's like, oh shit, something's wrong, because normally there are people protesting whatever, but not women, and there's women on the street, and it's like, okay, they're really mad. Well,
Yeah, that's
We're in
a
a
telltale
yeah.
sign.
we're in a traffic jam. We're bumper to bumper. Well, they pick out the Suburban because it's American, right? It screams American. And they start surrounding it, and now they're trying to tip it over,
My
and
gosh.
they're shaking it. So we're in the car, and I'm swaying back and forth, and the case officer that we're protecting, he's freaking out, and I'm telling him, I said, listen, shut up, all right? Don't stop making the ultimate plan, right? Don't let him take me alive, all this other stuff. You shoot him, you say, like, shut up. No one's shooting anybody. Shut up. That's stupid. We're going to get out of this. Whatever side it starts to tip, we'll just open the doors. It'll act as a kickstand. We'll get out. We'll start running towards the it's my TBI, the border. But before we get there, we need to stop. We need to take all our shit off because we got our armor underneath our shirts. So we look like bombers, right? We look like suicide bombers, and the Israelis will shoot us just as fast as
My
anybody else.
gosh. Yeah.
So I'm telling him all this, and the guys behind us like, what should we do? Should we get out? It's like, no, there's too many of them. You can't start. We got nowhere to go. You can't start shooting anybody, and they're unarmed, and they're just trying to roll us over. Just relax. And so we're like I said, I'm still doing it, right. Suburban's just going back and forth, but it's heavy. It's a level 4. It's heavy, so they're having problems flipping it. And just at that moment, you hear the siren go off behind us, and it's an ambulance. And it was like Moses just came out and parted the Red Sea,
My gosh.
and everyone just moves out of the way.
Someone needs help.
And- yeah,
It's amazing how that happens, right?
yeah. And here comes the ambulance, and I go, it's like, hey guys, stay on our ass. And I tell the driver, it's like, get right behind that ambulance and follow it. So as soon as it passed us, we get behind it and it just follow it out. And then we have to go find somewhere to hide for a while. And the guys, how are we gonna get out? I was like, look, 2-3 in the morning. Bless you.
Thank
2-3 in the morning, they're all gonna be asleep. They got families too. They got families they're raising. They got all this other. It would be a ghost town. It would be a ghost town, and we just have to work with the soldiers and whatnot to get back out. And sure enough, 2 or 3 in the morning,
Bless you.
we drive out and we get back to safety. But yeah, it's
That's crazy.
just mindset, right? You got someone already giving up.
Oh, that's the levels right there you're talking about. It'd be like the new one, and it's the one we get shot at. You know when that's closed and when it's not.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
For sure.
That's
Pretty
nuts.
funny.
Oh
So
my
yes,
gosh.
so
It's amazing too how well trained we are, human beings by design, all across the earth. When an ambulance rolls up, that's a
Yeah.
cognitive response.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it also elicits a response. How
Yeah.
powerful is that?
Yeah.
Like then in the heat of battle, wanting to roll that over, that's like out of being at a football game or something. It feeds itself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because once that thing starts moving, you know how you get, man. If I can move you an inch, I can move you a mile.
That's it. That's
And then
it.
for something to have the power of noise, or equivocally something that can calm everybody down, part that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's something that exists.
It is. No, it is. It's
Oh my gosh.
I laugh about it. You know, I every time I see a Dove bar, you know, little ice cream bars.
Yeah.
Because every time we'd come out of, and the other territories weren't as bad. It was just Gaza. It was just bad. And there was this gas station that was just outside on the other side of the border, and we'd pull in there and they'd sell these Dove bars. And
Oh my
we'd
gosh.
get out and we'd lean on our car and we're just eating our Dove bar. No one's saying nothing. We're just eating our Dove bar. It's like, all right, yeah, okay.
That's a
We're
therapy
alive.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah, therapy.
Yeah.
That's therapy. When everyone's eating ice, no one says anything. It's just like,
Everyone
okay.
good? Yeah, let's continue.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So when you got out of all service, you come home and that's when your, like Marcus calls it, withdrawals start.
Yeah. So I got forced to go out to San Diego when my son was going into his senior year of high school. The reason so when I went back active duty in 2009, the Navy started activating me. So they found out I wasn't with the agency anymore and I was doing civilian and corporate protection. And so they're like, well, okay, time for you to serve your country. Okay. So they mobilized me. And if you want to talk about hard, it's, you know, being your civilian life and all of a sudden, hey, you got 29 days to report and we don't know where you're going, but you're going to be gone for a year. Right. It's like, but no buts, right? So got time for you to serve your country. So that happened. I come back from that mobilization. I was the task unit commander of the Horn of Africa in 2007.
You're in HOA?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, boy, I know 7.
In 2007.
I know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And a lot of people are like, oh, there's nothing going on, right? Nothing going on. It's like,
I trained for that place.
so you know,
I know. Yeah, I know a lot about it.
You're out there and you
Mhm.
don't have a lot of support. And yeah, but so came back from that and then talked to my wife about it. And I said, they're not going to stop activating me. So in 2009, we went back active duty, deployed again, this time to the southern Philippines, to the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao. It's called Muslim Mindanao for a reason, right? The Philippines have already given it to them, but for whatever reason, you know, we still have a beef for everyone that's there, which is great, you know. So deployed again, and then came back. But when I went back active duty, I went back as an FTS officer, full-time support. So I'm supposed to manage reserves, but I also knew that I still had to do my SEAL wickets. So did my SEAL wickets, and then I would go and do a big Navy command so I could be more of a dad and a father. And then next command, it'd be more of an NSW command and then a big Navy command. So I was in Austin as the commanding officer for the NOSC, which is big Navy command, shore duty, managing reserves. I told him I need 3 years here because my son's going to be a rising senior. And then you could send me wherever you want. Well, they forced me out after 2 and sent me down to San Diego. And this was during COVID. Okay?
Oh gosh.
So Veronica's like, hey, you stay in the Navy as long as you want, but I'm not leaving Texas. I'm like, so you want me to retire? She's
Had a
like,
girl.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm not leaving Texas. And so I got it, you know, because my daughter, 11 places before she was 20 years old.
She's
was
a
in
full-on
11
brat.
11 different
Mhm.
places. Yeah. And so I went out to San Diego and against my will, working group ops. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm going to come and I'm going to square this away, but don't fight me. I'm retiring. I'm done. My wife's had enough. So we're out. So
How long was that?
that was September of 21 is when I retired.
21, and you went in 1984.
85 is when I signed. 86 is when
My
I went to boot camp.
Gosh, that's so
Thanks for your service.
long.
Thank you for your service, and thank you guys for your
Yeah,
continued
thank
service.
you. That's
San Diego's not a bad place. It's the only other place outside of Texas I'm at home.
It's not. It's not a bad place, but I was mostly an East Coast frog, right? You know,
Okay,
my whole
so
enlisted
here's-
time.
the whole time. There's a difference between us.
There is.
Absolutely.
There absolutely is. And even when I went back, I stayed on the West Coast when I went back in 09.
All right, that makes sense.
At that time, I thought that they were going to stay in Washington State. At that time, I thought I only had to do 5 years to retire because I already had 15 active duty years and then 9 in the reserves. And so I'm like, 5 years, we could do that standing on my head. And you guys stay here. Well, I didn't read the fine print. Now I'm an officer. I had to do 9 active duty years to retire as an officer. You have to do 10 active duty years to retire as an officer. It's like, man, I need to read that fine print.
That can actually be a call sign. Fine print. Never reads it. I know some other guys like that too. It's like, hey man, there's something that comes with that.
But you did finish it.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Well, so when I qualified to retire, I promoted to commander, and my daughter just graduated high school, but my son had 3 more years. So we said, well, you got to do 3. If I accept the promotion, I have to do at least 3 years by law. And so I did 3 more years. And but that in those 3 years, that's when they moved me down to San Diego.
So you went E6 05?
I went E6
04.
05.
05. Nice.
Yeah. I would have promoted to 06, but that was going to be another 7-year commitment. And we weren't. Veronica,
there's not very many
That
of
is
y'all.
so long.
I know. Well, look at Chittick, Sean Chittick. Yeah.
Okay. That man right there.
Very special.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that guy.
Oh,
He has
he's
everyone's
awesome.
email.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's like if you need to know anything, he's our operator.
Oh yeah.
Like that should be his handle, operator. If you need to know anything where anybody's at,
That's it.
get to him.
That's
He'll
it.
find them.
He's
He
awesome.
already knows where they're at.
He's awesome.
He is.
I love him. I'll share another story with you. So when I left the agency, I went to Walmart, and I was doing executive protection. I was an executive protection manager for Walmart, and people gave me so much crap. They're like, "How do you go from being SEAL Team 6 to U.S. Marshal to CIA to working at Walmart? Like, what the hell?" And I'm like, well, my wife didn't want me going to war anymore. And I know they're not opening up any stores in the Middle East that I know of. So I went to Walmart. Well,
Like an actual Walmart store.
I'm working at the headquarters.
Okay.
I'm working in Bentonville,
Bentonville.
Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful place. If you've never been, beautiful place.
Marcus
It
has
was,
been several
Yeah, I've
times.
been several times.
Yeah.
There's a difference between working at Walmart and going to Walmart.
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
been to the actual place. It's
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. And it's shared, and the people are just lovely.
awesome.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they are. They really are.
So is that town.
I love it. It was serendipitous. I mean, Veronica cried the whole way down because we had no idea what to expect. I mean, her family's in Texas. I grew up in Washington State. My SEAL family's in Virginia, right? It was like, what the hell is in
Arkansas is
Arkansas?
beautiful. It gets a bad
It is.
rap, but it's beautiful. It's
It
one
is.
of the prettiest.
Why does it get a bad? I think that came out from the
Because-
old days, right? Because
Well,
I don't
no
know.
one.
No.
Yeah, that
Right?
whole
You
thing,
know?
man. It's not like that anymore.
You got some hillbillies
I
up there.
mean, for sure.
But
My
it-
family's from there, for God's sake.
But it is a beautiful state.
It
like
is.
the natural beauty. There's like canyons
yeah, we play
and
banjo.
rivers.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. but yeah, so I got so much crap, and it was funny because my manager Pete Gonzalez, great guy, and he was my supervisor, but he loved to brag to. Brag's the wrong word. It sounds bad. It's not. He liked to tell people the kind of quality that he had on his executive protection team, because Walmart's Fortune 1.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of
Check
people don't
right,
realize
yeah,
that.
yeah.
They're Fortune 1. So you have all these other big companies, their best practice. Hey, what are you guys doing? Who are you guys doing? So they're talking. Well, every time he would tell people about me, and I'd tell them, it's like, don't tell them. Just don't tell them my background. They're like, bullshit, he's a liar. There's no way that's true. There's
Yeah.
no way that one person did that. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. And one day I was having it out with the contractor because he didn't want to hold up his end of the bargain on the house we just bought, and the roof was leaking or something. So I had a case of the ass, and some guy from Starbucks was basically calling me out. So I go, okay, where's he at? I felt so bad after this. The guy was like maybe 5'5", and I'm like, I understand that you have a question about my background. What would you like me to answer for you?
Oh,
And I was
no.
ready to just wring his neck. Oh, no, I have no problem with that.
No, there's a couple other guys. Nightingale.
Yeah.
One like him.
Keith Nightingale's has like
Been
a background
everywhere.
like you.
Was on all the projects. The
Mhm.
ones that get out into the public. You know, they're kind of like, man, you were part of that. You were part of that. Matter of fact, when he came on, I called people.
Yeah, just to make sure that
Just
he
to
was
make sure
legit.
he was totally legit.
Yeah.
You know, guys, we'll call. Like, if you hear something, you're like, oh, I got a guy.
Yeah.
I know exactly. That's like Chittick.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was going with this story is people, when I was there, they're like, hey, this guy says this. Number one, I wasn't saying anything. It was my boss who was saying it. And they would get on these formats, and Sean Chittick and Paul Perminer, tell Rodney I said hi. How are you? All this. You could look it up on the internet now and still find those threads where people are like, this guy's full of shit. And they're all there coming off the top rope with the power.
Dude, we got him.
This guy's legit.
Yeah, we got him, man. There's some guys, for whatever reason, God probably puts them in all those situations. They get to stick around forever, man. It's just.
Look, I did it to raise my family. If you go back and you look at all the decisions I've made, all but one, and the one was to go to the CIA. That was the only one where it was like, I got to get back to war. My brothers are there. I got to get back. But all the rest of them were, I wanted to provide. I wanted to be a good husband. I want to be a good dad. When I interviewed with Walmart, there's 5 of them sitting there and they're asking me questions, right? And they're like, okay, well, what are your goals here at Walmart? And I'm like, well, I want to be a soccer dad. And they started laughing. And I leaned forward. I'm like, what is so funny? And I was mad. And they're like, well, we mean, what are your goals here at Walmart? It's like, oh, sorry, misunderstood the question.
Yeah.
But, if Lee Scott's going to leave anytime soon, I wouldn't mind doing his job. He was the CEO at that time. But yeah, that was my focus. My focus was to be a family man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I went there. There was no, I want to rise through the ranks. I want to, be the best merchant or whatnot. I mean, I'm going to do my job to the best. I'm going to try to make things better. That's what we're taught, right?
Yeah.
You leave things better than the way you found them. But my focus was to raise my family and cultivate my wife and my relationship, and which, still love her dearly. And I think she still loves me. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
So did Walmart treat you well?
You know what? I was gone just about as much with them, but they did. They were fair. If you look at them from a business perspective, they're spot on. Mm-hmm. If you look at them from a humanitarian or hey, what you're putting all these businesses out, it's like, okay, yeah, but if you look at them from business, just strictly business, it's hard to argue the way they do things. Mm-hmm. I left them because then other people started finding out I wasn't with the agency anymore, and got a phone call from Washington State to come and do security for a family. Mm-hmm. And it was other team guys that were on the detail. And I'm from Washington State. My mother was in a wheelchair and she needed help. So I ended up taking the job, and we moved my mother in for a while. She didn't last long with us.
Good for you for taking her in after she treated you like a stepchild.
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe I was a stepchild. Maybe she isn't truly.
Yeah, what do the rest of brothers turn out to be, man? Right? You're talking about like, hey, bro.
Excuse me. Yeah. Oh, and talking about that family, Melissa. Ariel, her daughter, is going to be married soon, so I need to say hello to Logan. Hi, Logan. Here's why. The last podcast I was on, it was the only podcast I was on, and they found out about it. Logan was upset that I didn't mention him.
Oh.
Find out why.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. So Logan, your name's out there now. You better take damn good care of my niece.
Oh.
Because he has friends.
That's right. He has friends.
So when you get out from all of that, at what point do you start writing your book?
So it was, I jumped at every chance I could. Staccato was up there in Georgetown. So I made friends with Tony Pignato, good dude, from the unit, Army side. And he go and help him on range, just be a range safety officer, just to go do stuff. People calling, hey, come and help with this fundraiser or whatnot. Got offered to go back and work as an instructor, but Veronica's not leaving Texas. So she's like, no. And those events were just few and far between. And so that's what I looked over at my wife one day and I'm like, sweetie, what is my purpose? And she got a little upset with me because she's like, well, I'm just like, it's not that. It's not that at all. And our relationship is great. Our family life is great. What is my purpose? What, men provide and protect. That's what we want to do. We want to provide and protect. And right now I don't feel like I'm doing any of that. So I just started writing. I started writing because I was recounting back all the times I would address the sailors once I became an officer, and working my way up through the ranks and talking to the sailors. Every once in a while, some of them would do a sidebar, and it's like, look, you need to put that stuff down in a book. I'm like, nah, you guys are just, I don't write your paper. All right. I don't write your evals. All right. Stop trying to butter me up. Go talk to someone else. But I did. I just started writing. And what I did when I finished writing, I started sending it to friends of mine from my hometown, Grandview, Scott Parrish and his daughter, Peyton, who are teachers and coaches. Asked them what they thought of it. And they're like, you got something here. You should publish this. So talked to a few people, and a buddy said, hey, I know this person who's a ghostwriter. And I don't know what a ghostwriter is supposed to do. So we interview and we talk, and she's like, okay, start writing. So, I just start writing more. I just start writing, and I'd send her chapters, and she'd ask questions, and I'd answer the questions, and we do it. And before you knew it, we have a manuscript. And now it's like, well, should we publish it? So send it to a few more people, let them see what they thought. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. You need to get this published.
That's awesome.
All this costs money. All right. So it's just free.
People don't realize that. They think you're going to write a book and become a millionaire. That is not how it works.
Not at all. Not at all.
Have to pay a lot of money to get the book out.
So
and
true.
It's a lot of your time, and it's exhausting too.
Yeah. And Ballast Books, really good. So I start researching the public, do your own publishing, self-publishing. And I just sent my manuscript out to a few people, and Ballast was the only ones that Andy called me back. He said, hey, give me 2 weeks. Let me read it, and I'll get back with you to see if there's something here. So he did. The rest of them were like, yeah, man, we'll take you on. This is what it costs. Yeah, we'll take you on. This is what it costs. I'm like, well, what'd you like about it? Oh, yeah, well, I haven't read it yet. One guy kept changing the title. Rise to the top. Tip of the spear as you rise to the top. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not the title at all. And Andy, he wrote back. He goes, this is really good. This is exactly what we look for. And, we have some suggestions, and we'll change some things. But yeah, if you want, let's get to
they
work.
see through different eyes.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely do.
Their lenses are different than ours. So it's kind of just to switch a few words, switches perspective.
Well, and explaining more of what I'm trying to say. I thought I knew exactly. I thought I was putting it in a way where anyone could understand exactly what I'm saying. It's like, no, not at all. Let's say it this way.
Yeah.
And let's say that. And they cut a lot out as well, because which it flows better. It flows a lot better. But I'm happy with the product. You talk about 11 to 18-year-olds. One of our neighbors, son, he's a sophomore in high school, maybe sophomore, junior. I thought he was a sophomore. But he read it. He pre-ordered it and he read it and absolutely loved it.
Oh,
Absolutely loved it. And it's great because he's just like, I'm going to do it all because I can. And I'm going to let them say no. Just like Rodney says, I'm going to let them say no. Because if I say no, I definitely won't get it.
right.
But I'm just going to keep trying and let them say no.
That's so cool.
I think we could start an online SEAL Academy. Like you and I could be professors. So if anybody from 11 to 18 got on their phone, there was an app that said Academy on it, right? And
Yeah.
they pulled it up and like, here are your instructors for the day. This is what they're going to teach you. And like they hit the one, I show up. I'm like, here's what you got to know.
Oh my gosh.
And then after lunch, they got you, right? And it's kind of like, because each one of the SEALs takes something from us, right? And then they learn how, like I learn how to speak like you.
Yeah.
Because of how much we hang out. Like I got to learn how to hear you and speak to you.
Right.
And that was my favorite part about being in the platoon. They don't keep us together very long.
Right.
Or right, was the last 3 months probably at the end of that. when we're really dialed in with each other. And
Yeah.
I mean like a freaking rolling.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
No, I tell people about the old, and I get it. We weren't as busy, as your generation got to get, but jungle warfare, I could look at someone's silhouette at night and know exactly who it was.
Mm.
Didn't have to say, and it was all this was before inter platoon comms or inter squad comms. We didn't have, the radio man had radios to set up to make comms back to base. That was it. There was no
So sign language.
right.
Bless
So it
you.
was all hand and arm signals, and I could see someone's silhouette either standing forward, sideways, or whatnot, and know exactly who that person was.
Yep, underwater.
Platoon. Underwater.
Freaking underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Pitch black. Reach over and touch somebody. Like, gotcha. I know exactly who that is.
You could,
That's awesome.
but that's where that training comes in, right? And we train and we train and we get that good. And you see people. Matter of fact, I'll go one step further. Another team guy with me, and we're with the agency, and something happened. We didn't say a word, and we just start working.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to say nothing, and we're just going off of each other's cues, and we just started working. Yeah.
I've seen that
That's
happen a few times.
awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes down that has to be activated.
Yeah.
Like you got to activate them dudes.
Yeah.
Well, you can only get that by as much training as
Yeah.
y'all do.
Yeah, I think so. And the kind of training too. It's
Yeah.
got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be good quality training, and because you're right, they're shooting live rounds over us all the time.
So there's no switch for us.
No.
Like some guys have to switch into the life. Like we're always in it.
Yeah.
That's why it's probably more difficult. That's why our withdrawals are harder.
Yeah.
When we get out, it's because like we were on the drugs, right? I mean, like we ate it up. That life was a drug to us.
No, it's a
For
good
sure.
point. No, and
I
love
never
the way
thought about it till you said it like
I
that,
never
but,
thought of it as with like withdrawals, like you put it, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. That's
One of
exactly.
the boys said that to me.
Yeah.
And after having those surgeries, when you say it like that, civilians will understand now.
Yeah.
Like if anybody's ever had to go through that, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
I've had to go through both.
Yeah.
So that's what it feels like, man. If you're
Yeah.
wondering what we're going through, it's that.
Surgeries. Oh man.
No, we've been through a lot.
Yes, no, I put her. And you kept going back in.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like you detox, then go back in and get ramped up on it again.
I
It's like guys that have multiple surgeries.
hit it. I've been putting off surgeries for so long.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the color blindness, asthma, depth perception. There's a couple of things,
Yeah.
man, that
Oh,
and there's a few things you can pick up while you're in. I think the mistake they make is tell us it's a disclaimer.
exactly.
That's why guys don't say nothing. It's like, hey, man, we won't ever come in then.
Well, again,
and our docs are SEALs too, so they know.
So, Marcus, one of the saddest things that I saw when I was managing reserves is that, because you talk about different kinds of people, right? You have people that are looking for disqualifiers.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to go.
Oh,
serve,
yeah.
Which just drove me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
There's another reason I wrote this book. Because if you're going to say you're this, then be that. And understand what it takes to be that. Okay? And if you don't want to be that, then go away. We don't care. We don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a crap. I tell people all the time, it's like, look, you don't have to be like me. You don't have to be a SEAL. You don't have to be this. Just like, just be the best at what you say you are.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as making pies. I don't give a shit. If they're the best pies in the world, you're going to get props from me.
Mm-hmm.
But don't take a space that someone else wants, and then you have no intentions on going and doing what you took the oath to do.
Yeah.
And it drove me nuts.
Oh, yeah, that's wanting to carry the reputation without carrying the job.
That's it.
I heard somebody use that analogy the other day too. They used a street sweeper. Like, hey man, you boil in there, there's not an ounce of dirt on that street. I mean, that sucker loves that job.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can tell, and he gets accolades for it. That's what you're after. Most guys, man, we just have to find a different way to get that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some guys got to get it the easy way. I mean, it's just whatever they just live in, they get it. And then
Right.
some of us have to go out and bleed for it.
Right.
I never thought about it like that, but there's a lot to that, and it's for each other. Like,
That's
why
it.
would you even do that? It's like so he can see it.
Yeah. That's it. He expects me to be the best I can be.
Yeah.
100%.
Just like I expect him to be the best.
And we'll know if you're not. And I'm not talking about dumb stuff. I'm talking about like on point stuff. Like I'll know if you're off. Just like a thing. Just feel that.
Wouldn't it be awesome if college kids did that? Like with each other, like helped pump each other up and
They're still in that phase. Man, it's just our program's unique because you take it at that age, that college age, and putting us into the hardest military installations with discipline and death, and it's all in that one little.
Well, thank you for
Something.
coming on, and tell us one more time where they can get the book and when it comes out in print and all of that.
Sure, absolutely. So, Tip of the Spear, It's Not What You Think by Rodney Magallan, all A's. And you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes & Noble. It's out. It's been out for a week.
Okay.
And you could get signed copies at ballastbooks.com while supplies last. And it's in hard copy. It's in paperback. I narrated it. If you want to listen to audiobooks, I did.
Oh, nice.
And you talk about sweating. And
That's
you
a
can
good
get
one,
the
Cal.
Ebook as well. You get the ebook as well.
Very
Yeah,
cool. Well, we're so
Yeah, God
happy
bless
that
you, man.
came
Thanks for your
here,
service.
and
Thank you.
Great
Thanks
to
for
meet
having
you
me.
and your wife.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. Are you on social media at all?
I'm not. That's one of the things that I need to. I've been a ghost. I've been a ghost for so long, and you know, and
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I know.
Let your daughter handle it. That's what daughters are for.
I know. My daughter and my son.
Well, it's kind of like
Yeah.
the radar. That's the
Yeah.
radar system, man. So you want to throw them on, you throw your stuff on that.
Yeah.
True.
So
It's true.
Thank you.
this will help.
Thank
We'll
you,
promote
guys.
the mess out of it too.
Thank you so much.
You bet, brother. God bless.
This is the Team Never Quit podcast. So buckle up, Buttercup.